Okay, so in the previous one, we actually saw how we can run NGINX on top of Docker, right? In this specific one, we are going to deploy one custom website on NGINX server with the help of Docker, right? How that can be done, I'm going to show in this specific one. Along with port mapping, there is one more thing that we are going to demonstrate today, that is volume mapping. How would you map your local volume with the Docker container, right? Second thing is there is one repo which I have added in my portfolio. Okay, in my GitHub account you will find one repo where the entire code for this specific demonstration we are going to use. Okay, so yeah, let me just copy it and let me just make clear it. And okay, so the initial thing that I'll be doing is, let me create a directory for this practice. So I'll just write mkdir volume. Let me go inside the volume. Okay, and here we are going to clone that specific directory. Okay, let me go inside the directory. Okay, and here you will find the index.html file. So basically in that specific nginx web server, we are going to pass this index.html file, okay, which the server will pass, and we will be able to see it in the browser live. Okay, right. Now the second thing what we need to do is we need to check the current working directory. For that we have executed pwd, and this is the path that we would be working on. Okay, now how would we run nginx server with this specific volume? We need to mount it. We need to mount the external volume with the internal ones. So for that we are going to write docker run -d to run this process in the background, -p to map the external port with the internal one. So the external port that we want to map is port number 8080. We want to map it with the internal port number 80. Now we want to mount the volume, that's why -v. And which volume we need to mount, that is the one which we copied right now, followed by where we need to mount it. So it would be /usr/nginx usr share /nginx/html. This is the place where we actually want to mount our volume. Okay, and followed by the image name nginx. Okay, let me do a little bit of zoom. Enter. Now what is happening at the back end is it will copy all the files which are currently present over here. Okay, and basically those files will be served over here. Okay, now when I go back and when I copy the public IP, okay, http:// followed by the port number external, that is port number 8080, we should be able to see this website, right? Because what we did here is we actually mapped the port number 8080, which is this external port, with the internal port number 80. Now the second thing what we did is we mounted the volume, which is this path, with the internal path, that is usr share nginx html, where the index.html file has been rendered. Now as a best practice, like we are not actually passing this specific value. Why? Because this might change, and like whenever we are sharing this specific command with anyone, the path might differ. So how do we avoid that? That can be done with one specific variable. Okay, so before doing that, let me just stop the container. So docker ps docker stop, and the container id starts with 27e. Okay, 27e. Okay, docker container is not stopped. Now what I mentioned earlier is, now whenever you want to share this specific docker command with anyone and you want him to test this thing, there might be a possibility, 100% possibility, that the directory structure in yours differs with him, right? So for that what we can do is we make use of variables. By the help of variables, we are making sure that the end user, he is aware that this is the place where the index.html file is present, and that is the path where I will be running this command, right? So for that what I'll do, docker run -daemon p port number 8080 followed by port number 80. Till here it remains the same, but the things change from here, -v. Now here we are passing one parameter, that is pwd. Okay, print working directory. This is the variable which will store the current directory path into that variable, and that will be stored over there, and that will be passed with the internal one. So the internal path was usr/share/nginx html followed by the image name. Okay, now let me just refresh it. Right now it should not work. Okay, now when I go and hit this command, Okay, now what is happening at the backend? Again, Docker is running one container on external port number 8080 with internal port 80 where the volume is been mounted. Okay, and here there is one variable which in past, and here the value stored is the current working directory, and it has been and there the file is been shared to this specific path. Okay, where index.html is been rendered over here and been served by nginx. When I go here and like before refresh only, I'll get the output. See, so that is the power of Docker. Okay, and that is how things work. That is how we map volumes. Okay, so you need to map just like the ports. We are mapping the external port with the internal port. We are mapping external volume with the internal volume, right? So yeah, that was all about this specific demonstration. If you want this specific repo, you can go in my GitHub profile. You can find this specific repository, right? So yeah, that was all, and see you in the next one.